actually is the lead play in our offense.
We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet, get an isolation with the linebacker. You tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him, if he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here. Try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Tim live in Green Bay. We got Emilio in Tennessee. We got Jacob on the Wisconsin-Minnesota border. Good to have you fellas in here. How we doing this evening, Tim?
I'm doing great, man. It's a beautiful, snowy spring day in Wisconsin. Gotta love it.
We're getting snow in the morning. Emilio, you getting any snow down there tomorrow, man?
No, cold rain when I got out tonight, but no, I don't think any snow. I got a mulch tomorrow, so no.
I got it, man. What about you, Jacob? It's snowing where you're at, big dog?
It was raining most of the day, kind of that slushy, wintry mix, like Tim said. It's we're basically in the spring now. It's a one.
Good deal, man. Hey, we're trending in the right direction. That's all that matters. I want to take a second here and give a big shout out to our sponsor tonight, and that is Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packers Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since 1992, specializing in Packers tickets. Wisconsin's largest ticket source. They've got offices next to Lambeau Field as well as in Milwaukee. You can click on the link in this video description that will send you to theticketking.com, where you can register for free as a customer and get ready for that May schedule release coming up here next month. Just absolutely wild. So get yourself in a position to save some money on some Packers tickets. Make sure you check with theticketking.com, or like I said, drop into one of their offices there before you go to some of the bigger name companies. They're going to be able to save you some money. Again, that is Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packers Total Access Live. We appreciate them sponsoring the show. So first things first, man, let's just kick this party off, right? We got a new addition here to the show right here. Take a quick peek here. We finally got a pick. I got a pick of Emilio in his race car. You know what I'm saying?
That's great.
Yeah.
Like he said, it's
Dude, you see the side mufflers on that thing, though? I mean, that is elite. The green neons, I would have liked green. I mean, I had red, on mine, but it's all right. We'll take it. I like it.
I love the graffiti on the wall there, right?
Yeah. The bottle, is that a bottle in the window too?
It looked like some Maker's Mark or something over there on the window. So I'm not sure, but what do you think, Jake? That's pretty clean Photoshop, right?
I mean, it's good. It looks like his. What year is that photo from? Just to be clear.
I would have to guess 10 years ago.
I had to dig into the vault for that. I was doing some stalking online. I had to find that one. So,
yeah.
So there you go. Everybody's been asking.
That's an old one for sure.
Emilio tells the ladies, "You thought Corvettes didn't have a back seat."
Oh my God!
I was gonna say when we started, we were on.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Well, I was gonna say that, but I was also gonna say we were on track to start this show. It sounded real clean. We got through all that and just off the rails.
Sometimes it happens, man. You just gotta get the thing cranked up right here. So, all right, Christine said that's elite right there, man. That's elite. So, all right, let's do this, man. Let's get the party started here with a little bit of top 30 visit talk. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on there. Right before we kick into it, though, this was a cool pick. Cooper DeJean's been mocked to the Packers several times. Now, who knows if he'll actually be available? I know Mel Kiper says that Cooper DeJean would be his best safety in the draft. Most people see him as a slot corner. He could play safety. He could play outside. He could play slot. One of those players.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way?
one of those players that's very dynamic. But this was cool, man. Sean Block on Twitter tweeted this photo out, said former Hawkeyes getting in off-season work together. Cooper DeJean preparing for the NFL draft while Lucas Van Ness preps for year 2 with the Green Bay Packers. Look at Lucas Van Ness's arms, fellas. Like this dude, Jacob.
I was going to say that, but hold on. Look at Cooper DeJean's arms. If you look right over here underneath, that's a shadow that's casting out the fact that he's got a great bicep himself. I mean, the dude, this is going to sound weird, but I mean,
looks like him and LVN switch t-shirts.
Exactly. I mean, yeah.
Easy, Jacob. All right. It's a family show. I know I've seen you. Yeah. Anyway, Lucas Van Ness, man, that dude is a hoss. Like, I don't know, that back leg looking a little weak, though. I ain't gonna lie, man. It looks like Jay-Z's leg back there, don't it? It's probably just a bad angle. Y'all ever seen that picture of Jay-Z's legs? Y'all know what I'm talking about? He's at the beach. Somebody said it looked like the Pope blessed him with water and said, stand up. How bad his legs were. But anyway, Lucas Van Ness, man, I think he's going to pop here in year 2. I'm excited about watching him play. And who knows, man? What do we talk about all the time with Georgia, right? Packers went out and got Devontae Wyatt, got Quay Walker. There's something about drafting guys from the same college where they've already got a little bit of that unity, right? A little bit of that camaraderie, and it really gels well in the locker room. But that would be awesome if somehow, some way he did fall. And again, we talked about it. I think I had him at 28, I believe. 29 on my big board. Now my big board is getting shuffled up big time. I'm getting the final little additions in. I'm excited. I'm hoping I can have that ready by next week, so we can put it in horizontal form and get it on the show. So
do you guys think that there's any actual truth to the fact that once you get in the NFL, you could kind of get around using certain substances, or is it the fact that these guys are peaking at the point of where they're like actually about to hit another pure testosterone range? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, because it seems like you see guys that are like 20, 21, and they're like, and all of a sudden, like LVN, the next year you're like, holy Lord, like, right. What are you eating? What's going on there?
I think they're very, very strict on substances, and some that people would agree, not all, but some that people would agree that, hey, this doesn't do any harm to your body. But the NFL tries to keep it under, such control, right? And the big thing is the masking agents that is now involved with the testing, right? So they have to ban the masking agents, and sometimes some of the simplest stuff that people can take can have those masking agents in it. I think what it is, Jacob, is this is top-notch, weight room, top-notch dietitians, right, Tim? I mean, you got the best of the best in these locker rooms, making sure these guys have everything at their disposal as far as diet and everything like that, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. You read my mind. I think it's, the leap from college to the NFL is significant in a multitude of ways, including your training staff, your regiments, your nutrition, all of those things are ramped up when you hit the NFL. And, I also think once you're drafted too, it's like there's that, that relief that you made it. Hey, can you imagine you made it? You're in the NFL, you're playing. And then it's like you've got that whole first year of workouts, grinding through a season. Now we're going into year 2. And like Jacob said, you can just see LVN is just a beast among men. I mean, just a monster. And it shows. And what's funny is if we do in fact draft Cooper DeJean, we'll use this picture as a frame of reference for next year.
Absolutely.
And see how he looks going into year 2 for sure.
Definitely. William Gould in the chat said, is that LVN or is that Sasquatch? Or is it Bill Belichick with no shirt? What are you going to say, Amelia?
I was saying, where's that weight room?
That's a great question, man. I was trying to figure that out.
You got Aaron Rodgers and Clay on there. I love that.
That's what struck me as odd. So I'm wondering if it's like a gym that professional football players use.
Right.
There's some popular gyms, especially on the West Coast.
Right.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, Amelia. When I seen it, I was like, "Oh, is he in Green Bay on a?"
That's what I was wondering.
And then I got to look, like, no, there's a Bronco up there. There's a Saints. Right. Yeah, completely agree. Coach Lynn says LVN is up next, man. I'm telling you, and what's cool is I hate to be so cold about this, but as soon as he shows, hey, he's better than Preston Smith, when he kind of gets to that point, it's just a matter of time before Preston Smith takes a bigger pay cut or he's let go, right? which
Can
sucks.
I'd say
But
something on
I'm
that real
also
quick?
kind of holding out hope too that maybe they would put one of them to the inside. You know what I mean? Like especially in pass rush situations. What'd you say, Jacob?
No, I was just going to ask if I could comment on that because right before we hopped on here, I checked out the Green Bay. I can't remember if it was the Instagram or their YouTube, but they had a short talking about how they were highlighting a potential draft prospect, and it was Demarius Robinson, or is it Darius Robinson? I can't remember.
I think it's
I think
Darius
it's
Robinson.
Darius. Okay, so from Missouri, me and Tim love Missouri guys. Obviously, they are just seems like they're built different. And I was in my head, I was like, man, why are the Packers highlighting an edge defender? Like that seems weird. And in my head, like you just said, I went, actually, if I look at the current trends of what the Packers are doing, they're getting rid of the older players and they're upgrading at the potential, like you talked about, tier 1 positions. Well, that would make kind of sense if Darius Robinson falls to us and they think that they can get rid of Preston next year and maybe get whatever cap off the books he has. And I don't know. It just seemed like it kind of made a little bit of sense to me.
Yeah, and the thing about Darius Robinson, too, the way he tested at the Senior Bowl, and you can ask Jake Shavink about this, he just absolutely blew everyone's mind. He can play stand-up outside linebacker at I think it was 296 pounds. He can play just hand in the dirt defensive end. He can play defensive tackle. He's got the frame for it. And everyone's comp, I remember Daniel Jeremiah saying this, like, we don't want to overreact here, but guys, expect his stock to skyrocket. He said, guess what his comp was? J.J. Watt. I was like, holy cow. Like that's the kind of talk. So I wouldn't be surprised if Darius Robinson goes in the 3rd round. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the top 10. That's the kind of talk that's been around him, right? And you don't know what's real and what isn't. But when DJ talks, I definitely listen. You know, he doesn't put stuff out there just to put it out there, right?
I mean, it makes sense if you look at what the Packers have been doing. Like maybe the lack of moves at middle linebacker in free agency, and we made the signings that we made. Maybe it doesn't rule out the possibility that Preston gets kicked to the inside there. And then, you draft an edge and then you've got LVN. So you're making a youth movement there at edge. And then you've got Rashawn Gary, obviously your stud. And if anyone could move to the middle, it's probably Preston Smith, I would think, at this point in his career.
Again, in a 4-3, it's not like you're playing 2 gaps. You don't have to have that huge body. But Preston, I think, is more than capable of doing that. It's just, how good is he against the run in the A to B gap? I think we agree he might be the best outside run defender that we have here lately. It's something.
Yeah, he does set an edge, right? So he knows how to contain. He knows how to come upfield. He knows how to engage in tight ends or tackles. So that's the only thing where LVN probably picked it up from him. Have a championship offseason and let's go.
There's a guy who could play in the middle too, though.
Here's a guy.
Here's a guy.
People forget that Rashawn Gary was a defensive tackle in a 4-3 at Michigan.
Michigan,
yeah. That, right? And that just shows just how much of a badass that Rashawn Gary is. The fact that he can go from D tackle, completely convert over to edge, and become one of the best in the game at it. It's just wild. Especially as a stand-up outside linebacker. But I
am hoping for some NASCAR though. Honestly, it doesn't even have to be all 5 or 6, just 4 of them standing up, kind of walking around. Cause it's not like our interior are not athletic. Mm-hmm. Every one of them could do a stand up if they wanted to and go, or, up, down, whatever kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right. Next thing here. I think it was Paul Brittle put this tweet out, said threshold season. While it is threshold season, let's also not forget about which prospects participated in the Senior Bowl. In the last 2 drafts alone, 10 of Gutekunst's selections have participated in the Senior Bowl. So in the last 2 years, I would venture to say that's almost half, right, of the draft picks. They actually performed in the Senior Bowl. So what we need to do on the next episode, if I can remember, you guys will keep me accountable to this. I'd like to pull up those players and a quick reminder of, okay, here's who participated in the Senior Bowl. Because you got visits tied in now. We're going to talk about that next. But if you take that information and you compile it with the Senior Bowl information, you can really start to zero in. You guys, I'm a redneck, right? I spend a lot of time at the range. You know what it's like, Jacob, zeroing in that scope, right? And how you're starting to say, okay, all right, we're missing to the right, we're missing to the left. Let's zone this thing in, right? Let's get it right. And you can start to pick up on these similarities from past drafts and go, okay, you're probably in the ballpark of this range of players, right? I personally don't find a lot of joy in trying to guess who the Packers are going to take. I find a lot of joy in, okay, here are the potentials. All right, now what's the need? How does the board actually lay? I'm more interested in how close can we get our horizontal board to what we think the Packers' horizontal board is, right? And we never know until after the draft. Jaden Reed last year is a perfect example of that, right? So, yeah. So speaking of visits, though, the Packers had a visit today, and it's Mr. Omar Brown, defensive back from Nebraska, Easton Butler. Actually, I was going to see if Easton Butler wanted to come on the show tonight, but we ran out of time. Guys, he's got like less than 1,000 followers. I'm pretty sure he's local there in Green Bay. He's had a lot of practices and stuff. That dude does a phenomenal job with these visits. So everybody, let's blow his mind tonight. If you're listening to this tonight or tomorrow at work, whatever, hop on Twitter and go to @Easton, EASTON __ Butler, okay? And give him a follow. Let's let him wake up in the morning and go, what the heck happened? I got a bunch of followers. So let's make that happen for him because he does a phenomenal job with this stuff, man. He's compiled all the information. But what's cool about this Omar Brown, we've talked about him a couple of times, but you guys know before Jacob started sleeping in, they were doing a Good Morning Lambo. Jacob and Tim were, and they did a mock draft. Not too long. Jacob's like, you lying? They did a couple of mock drafts there. And Tim, do you got that mock draft handy, man? Check this out.
So if you take a look here, take a gander. This is one Jacob and I did a couple weeks ago, one of our mocks. And down at 202 is Mr. Omar Brown.
Bingo.
The safety out of Nebraska. So, looking back, I think we did pretty good there, Jacob, at 202.
I really like this draft, man. I forgot we did this one.
But yeah, I was just looking at it. For those of you on the pod, defensive line Braden Fisk at the 31 pick. At 41, you got linebacker Peyton Wilson. At 58, you got Javon Bullard. Surprise, surprise, right, Jacob? At 88, you got cornerback Max Melton. 91, you got Dominic Pooney. 94, you got Jerry and Jones. 124, you got my boy Trey Benson. 126, Cedric Gray, another one I'm pretty high on. 169, tackle Jalen Sundell. And then at 202, like Tim mentioned, safety Omar Brown. At 219, you got cornerback Josh Wallace. And then at 245, you got linebacker Dallas Scant. I know you're real big on him too, Jacob. What were you going to say about this, Jacob?
No, I think that this is a great draft, especially how strong that first half is. You see that and you're like, oh, those are guys I know. Those are guys that I really, I'm sure are going to be great, according to the Mel Kipers and all the experts in the world. But what's great about it is the last, I think, 5 or 6. If you can somehow get Cedric Gray in the 4th, I don't think that's actually possible. But Jalen Sundell is one of the best lower end, I should say late round tackles out there. And then Omar Brown is a guy, obviously, we're highlighting right now. Josh Wallace graded out just as well as Mike Sanderstrell on the other side. And then Dallas Scant again from Toledo. People say it's from a small school. You don't have to really think about it. But hey, so is Quinyon Mitchell. So what do you think about that?
Yeah. What do you think about this draft right here, Emilio? You liking it, man?
Yeah, I remember listening to it. This was one Tim was talking about last night where they took the 2 linebackers, Peyton and Cedric. But I like how well they did in the back end, like Jacob was saying, man. It's a good draft. They covered every basis, was a trade back, and picked up a couple extra picks, and they were able to hit everything. So I do like it. And looking at Omar Brown specifically, I just pulled up his PFF last year. He had an 82.8 with 665 snaps. 434 of those were in the slot.
Yep.
So, we are not opposed to I like that.
I think we should have probably went a little bit more into interior offensive line. Mark Zambito saying he doesn't like it. Our Showers saying he doesn't like it. Well, guess what? This is the draft.
Our Showers doesn't like anything, bro. Anytime he drops in, he just doesn't like it.
That's not true. Sometimes he likes it.
I don't know, Jacob. Trust me. I've been keeping score over here. I got a tally going, and let me tell you, it's a lot of negative marks for old Our Showers. So
things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
It's all right, though. We like it when people disagree. So when you look at it, first of all, Braden Fisk, for me personally on my board, and again, I know he is very popular because of the combine. You guys know that my board is very, very, it doesn't really cater to the combine, if you will. I'm trying to find him real quick. I want to tell you guys where I've got him because he's definitely lower. I've got him in the 87 spot as it sits right now. And again, that is going to change how much we'll see. So I've got Braden Fisk at 87, and then at Peyton Wilson. Yeah, there you go. Our showers. Oh, come on. I'm positive as hell, damn it.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Let's see here. When it comes to Peyton Wilson, you guys got him at 41. I've got him in the 63 spot. But again, it's like if you don't take him at 41, there's a good chance he's going to be gone at 58, right? And then you guys went with Javon Bullard at 58. On my board, I've got Javon Bullard at 62, so that's right there, perfect in that range. You guys got Max Melton at 88. I got Max Melton outside of the top 100. Dominic Pooney, I've got him at 53, so you guys got him at 91. That's a great value according to my board. Jerrion Jones, just outside of the top 100, I believe, on mine. You took him at 94. Trey Benson at 124. I know he's my top back. Cedric Gray's another one. You guys got him at 126, and I've got him at 66 on my board. I mean, what you're seeing there basically is in that nickel set, you'd have Cedric Gray and Peyton Wilson, two of the best linebackers in this draft. Matter of fact, I've got Peyton Wilson number 2, Cedric Gray number 3 on my linebacker board. You got those two guys battling for that second nickel linebacker spot, and then in a 4-3, I think you'd be pretty solid as far as from a rookie standpoint. And all of a sudden, you got, like I said, Eric Wilson as a backup or competing, Isaiah McDuffie. Your linebacker room will be basically pretty much set.
I'm with you, Jacob, on this, though. I feel like we neglected interior O-line. We took a couple of tackles. And I'm wondering, did we take Sundell because he played a little bit of guard as well? Was that the logic?
To be honest, I think it was more that maybe Puny could jump in, pop in
Okay.
there. But I can't remember. There was some sort of, we had to talk about it. And it was more like that we wanted to go a little bit defensively heavy, I think, on this draft. And we obviously did, because now that I'm
Right.
looking at it, I'm like, man, yeah, we went. Jeff Hafley walked in. If this is real, he walks in that next day like, ooh, he walks in like Leo DiCaprio. Just,
You could tell I was running the draft cards down that morning for sure.
can I show one thing here to Clayton? Yeah, Clayton.
Puny did play left guard, 848 snaps in 22.
There it is.
Oh,
Okay,
there you go. Yeah, you're good. Then you covered it. Yeah.
there we go.
And then
Yeah,
here, check this.
AFAM says in the chat, Clayton's big board, 90% Kentucky players. It's funny, AFAM, like, I think I'm lower on the Kentucky players than everyone else, which is crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Traven Wallace, 33rd team's like, he's top 75, and I'm looking at it going, I don't know. I got him down there around 140. But, yeah, anybody they draft from Kentucky, I'm all about. Go ahead, Jacob.
No, I was going to say, and M. Smitty goes ahead and
And the other 10% Notre Dame. I love it.
But Javink comes in here and lets us know that
Yes.
me and Tim, you know what, Tim?
Sunday.
It's a
Look
pretty
at
darn
that.
good draft. If I have to say so myself, I don't know. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, man, I think we did pretty good for just waking up in the morning. Diesel didn't kick all the way in yet. We did all right.
All right, our
Oh,
showers
yeah,
love
here's a
Greek
positive.
Kentucky
I love-
guys.
Yeah, I love free Kentucky. I wouldn't tell a lot of people that. You know what
I
I'm
know.
saying? Our show. I don't
Big
know.
ol' Kentucky, bro.
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
That's good stuff. Our showers, list them out though, man. If you really do have 3 players from Kentucky that you like in this draft, I'd like to see them
I think
because
one would be Andrew Phillips. Yeah,
yeah, and probably Andrew Phillips, Traven Wallace, and then I think there was an offensive lineman too, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But again, they didn't make the cut on my board, but that's the way it goes. So let's talk about visits here. Anything else you guys want to add to that? Emilio, do you have anything you want to add as far as PFF wise there to that list? Or?
Sleeper pick in that draft was definitely Dallas Gant, the linebacker out of Toledo, for sure.
Good stuff, man. Thank you, he said. All right.
You know what, Emilio? I don't care what everybody says about you, dude. You're good.
You like my race car bed?
I like your race car bet.
There it is. I walked right into that one.
I love it. That picture too, man. It just cracks me up because you just got through playing a lacrosse game, right?
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah.
Sure. Just finished lacrosse. Hair's all
Disheveled all over the place. Probably got 3 flags that game.
Guarantee it. Guarantee it. All right. So Easton Butler tweeted out the top 30 visits. Now, keep in mind, this does not include the new one of Omar Brown. So we're now up to 8 of 30. Okay. You got offensive lineman Zach Zenter from Michigan, cornerback Jerrion Jones from Florida State, cornerback Jaquan Shepard from Maryland, linebacker Edrin Cooper from Texas A&M, linebacker Traven Wallace from Kentucky. We were just talking about defensive lineman Michael Hall from Ohio State, and then Eric Sutherland's sleeper pick of the draft, Christian Boyd. Obviously, that's one that we kind of added to the board, and he graded out somewhere, I think, around the 140 mark, which is pretty solid, when you think about someone who wasn't even on my board. So it was cool that Eric Sutherland kind of plucked him out of thin air. I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon members, and we've got a really good conversation going on in there in terms of sleepers. What I'm doing with the Patreon group, the PTA Posse over there on Patreon, is asking them, hey, give us some sleeper picks. Who's some guys that, preferably outside of the first round. They can be in the first round too, but just some guys that you think, hey, might be a solid pickup for the Packers. And I started off, I said halfback Tyrone Tracy out of Purdue. Had a little bit of receiving background. I think he can be a really, really dynamic pass catcher out of the backfield and a pretty good ball runner as well. Do You Rant in the PTA Posse there on Patreon said cornerback Kamal Haddon out of Tennessee. CJN said edge defender Adiza Isaac from Penn State. Doug said running back Isaac Garindo from Louisville. Obviously, he ripped the combine up, if I remember correctly. Maki on Mute, coolest name on Patreon, by the way. Maki on Mute said offensive lineman Isaiah Adams out of Illinois. Jake Shavink's going to be clapping for that one, being an Illinois fan. Chris N said running back Isaiah Davis from South Dakota State. And Eric Sutherland, of course, said defensive lineman Christian Boyd. So appreciate everybody kind of chiming in on that and giving their take on those sleeper picks for the draft. We're going to add those to the draft board for sure and see where they grade out. But again, since we're already on the topic, give a quick shout out to all the new Patreon members. Appreciate them jumping on board here. We've got Rich Beck, we got Maki on Mute, and we got Jonathan Koch. Appreciate you all jumping on, and give a special shout out to the $10 members. Jonathan Koch, you've got Doug Pointer, Allison Tuckwab. We've got, Dane Stromstad, who's supported the show since day one, even when we had the YouTube membership stuff. Nodak, Mike, another $10 member. Larry Cano, Mr. Larry, always support and appreciate you, buddy. And then Justin Connors, the oldest Patreon member. He actually jumped on Patreon in 2022 when I didn't even realize I had a Patreon, so appreciate him supporting. I looked on there one day and was like, who in the world? What? Okay, cool. So, appreciate y'all supporting us there on Patreon. If that's something you guys want to do, join the posse, get yourself entered into winning that autographed Paul Hornung jersey here on day one of draft night. Just click on the link in the description of this video. You'll see the Patreon link where you can sign up right there. But again, nobody feel pressure to do that. It's just a way you can support the channel, and we appreciate those who are doing it for sure. So, with those top 30 visits, all right, is there anything in the chat we need to hit on right now, Jacob? Tim?
I was just going to say that this is Emilio. Isn't this your guy? Is it Isaiah?
Oh, yeah. Love him. Absolutely.
He's absolutely graded out phenomenally at PFF. I mean,
Mhm.
and it would be great.
Chris in too in Patreon just talking about, right?
Yep.
My dream would be if we drafted him and Mason McCormick, get them with Tucker Kraft. We get the Holy Trinity from SDSU, and we just start stomping folks. And they're just lawn darts.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something. If they draft those two guys,
On darts.
and they're playing with Tucker Kraft, buy stock in Marlboro Reds right now.
Yeah. So his PFF grades from 21, 22 to 23 was 86.9, 89.0, and then 94.9.
Woo!
Stop playing with him! Stop playing with him!
He's 6'1", 220.
Yeah. So shout out to Chris N, man. Like I said, Chris N had him as one of his favorite picks. Running back Isaiah Davis, South Dakota State. That's absolutely awesome, man. So when you start hearing these names mentioned from multiple people, you know what I mean? It grabs your attention a little bit. Sometimes that happens and you look back and go, well, the signs were always there, right? So those were the top 30 visits, including Omar Brown as well. Now, there's many people saying – I had several people ask me both on Patreon and private messages and also on the text line, which is 865-658-5824 if you want to text the show. They were asking, how does this kind of correlate with the past? How many of these players do the Packers typically try to draft? Is it early in the draft? Is it late in the draft? You guys know we've been pretty vocal here on this show that Ted Thompson was very adamant on those top 30 visits being potential undrafted free agents, guys at the bottom of the draft. Well, it turns out that Goody kind of leans on that same philosophy as well, but he also tries to do a little bit on the front side too. So, some teams, they just focus on the first round. They really kind of key in on those that they're probably going to get a shot on the first round. I think the way the Packers look at it is, if we've got a full scouting report on someone, there's no reason to look at them any further, no matter if it's first, second, third round, whenever. I think they're looking at like, hey, we got a few more questions. Let's get them in here and get those questions answered, right? So, Coach Lynn in the chat says, can we cross-reference our top 30 visits with guys that were at the Senior Bowl? That's going to be the next step in this, Coach Lynn, definitely. It's what we kind of talked about here at the top of the show. Yep. We're going to show the top 30 visits from the last 2 years, and then we're going to try to this year, we're going to try to take that with all the Senior Bowl participants. And I think we've even got through Easton Butler, we've got a list of guys. He did a huge list here. If I remember correctly, there should be some Senior Bowl specified in here too. Those are the combine visits, if I remember correctly. Unknown meeting status. There's Pro Day, College Gridiron, Shrine Bowl. I thought he had, Senior Bowl right here. So you can see his Senior Bowl list is Joe Milton, Spencer Rattler, Kamani Vidal, Marcus Rosemary, Jack Saint, wide receiver Jacob Cowing, offensive lineman Tanner Bordolini from Wisconsin, cornerback Max Melton, cornerback Chell Smith Wade from Washington State, defensive tackle Tavondre Sweat from Texas. There's a potential first rounder, right? First or second. Defensive tackle Keith Randolph Jr. from Illinois. So, that's a good little cross reference for us and who they actually met at the Senior Bowl. We need to compile an entire list of the Senior Bowl as well.
We should get Jake Shavink in on that, our resident Senior Bowl expert.
Absolutely.
Down in Mobile, so he's got a good firsthand perspective for sure.
No doubt about it. So when we go to top 30 from 2023, it's going to be hard to see. I'm going to try to read it for you guys here real quick. We're going to rattle them off quick, and then I'm going to show you our actual draft picks from that were in the top 30 as well. Okay. Jacob got caught stealing Wi-Fi from the neighbors there, evidently. So, there we go. He's back. So we got tight end Darnell Washington, outside linebacker Will McDonald. You've got safety Jordan Howden, safety Jamie Robinson, wide receiver Dontavian Wicks, defensive back Marte Mapu, quarterback Hendon Hooker, offensive tackle Darnell Wright, defensive lineman Keon White, running back Lou Nichols III, quarterback Sean Clifford, running back Evan Hull, defensive lineman Jaquilin Roy, tight end Dalton Kincaid, tight end Ben Sims. You're already hearing a few names, right? Antonio Maffey, offensive lineman. You got cornerback Tyreek Stevenson, Josh Weil, the tight end out of Cincinnati. You've got safety Quan Martin, outside linebacker Felix Uzama, I think is how you say it.
Who?
Ryan Miller, I think is the name there, wide receiver from Furman. Rasheed Rice, that's a name we're glad we didn't draft right now. You got Kadeem Telford, another name that's familiar, right? Offensive tackle out of UAB. Tanner Morgan, quarterback. Cameron McDonald, tight end. Quindell Johnson, safety. Carl Brooks, defensive lineman. Scott Matlock, defensive lineman. You got Sanders. What is that? I ain't going to try to pronounce the first name. Sanders, wide receiver out of Temple. And then I think that is Tyrus Wheat, outside linebacker. Now, here's what's cool. When we line up the draft picks themselves, right? Obviously, round 1, pick 13, we took Lucas Van Ness. Round 2, pick 42, we took Luke Musgrave. Round 2, pick 50, we took Jaden Reed. Round 3, pick 78, we took Tucker Kraft. Round 4, pick 116, we took Colby Wooden. Round 5, pick 149, we took Sean Clifford. He was a top 30 visit. Round 5, pick 159, we took Dontavian Wicks. That was a top 30 visit. Round 6, pick 179 was Carl Brooks. That was a top 30 visit. Round 6, pick 207, Anders Carlson. Round 7, pick 232, Carrington Valentine. Round 7, pick 235, Lou Nichols III. That was a top 30 visit. Round 7, 242, Anthony Johnson Jr. And then if I can get that banner down, round 7, pick 256 was Grant Dubose. So of the draft picks, the top 30 visits last year, and you guys correct me if you know any others other than this. I got this from Packers Wire's website, packerswire.com. We did top 30 visits for Sean Clifford, round 5, Dontavian Wicks, round 5, Carl Brooks, round 6, and then Lou Nichols III, round 7. So you can see last year top 30 visits ended up being later round picks, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And of course, we got 2 undrafted free agents in tight end Ben Sims and offensive tackle Kadeem Telford, who were undrafted free agents that we had top 30 visits with as well. So anything catch you by surprise there, Tim?
No, not really. But I do, I don't think it would be surprising to see this trend continue. And it'll be fun to break down the top 30 visits like we talked about and see how it pans out this year. But I'm not really surprised by anything on this list other than just I'm extremely grateful. That's something that I'm feeling right now. A lot of great picks there, man. I mean, not just Tay Wicks, but we added a lot of value there with Carl Brooks. And I still think guys like Anthony Johnson Jr. and Grant DuBose are worth keeping an eye on as well as their careers start to take off a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Emilio?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of cool looking back on the fact that, we did pick up so many of them, even undrafted at this point. It's also I was also kind of just thinking, are any of those positions we're going to hit again in the draft moving up? Like if they didn't hit for us this past year, is that another one that kind of gets carried over to put onto the list besides what the team just needs now? But besides that, man, I think it's awesome that, you get to meet the guy in person, get to talk to him, get to see what he's like and, see if he's a fit for Green Bay.
Yeah, for sure. Jacob?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think this just kind of shows how thorough that our draft squad is, because just think about it rationally. You look at the top maybe 3-round, 4-round, 5-round guys, especially the first round. They've done extensive deep dives on them. Every single analyst, reporter, team, they're diving into these guys specifically because they want to know, is it worth this? Is it worth this high of a draft? Now, once you get down to the, like I said, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and beyond, you maybe want to take them in and have a meeting because there's nobody that's really deep diving on them. So you want to see them face to face, and you're like, all right, let's see what's actually behind the curtain here. And right. I think that's a good reason. And I can't remember. Yeah, it was Coach Lou again. It was like we had Ben Sims in there. Affin was talking about Malik Heath. And there's a laundry list of other guys where it's like, I'm sure whatever scouts told them, hey, these guys have a little bit of a possibility. And they said, well, let's get them in here and see if they're Packer guys. And I think that's what's going to make the difference there. So,
Yeah, definitely.
This receiving is tough.
Our Showers in the chat says, do you think the Packers think we have a true number 1 wide receiver? Would it shock you to see a top 100 wide receiver pick? Watson, I ain't saying that last part. Our Showers. I know Mr. Positivity here. Again, Our Showers. Come on, Bob. Come on.
I was trying to help you out, dude.
I know, and this happens every time. Our Showers.
That's the truth.
I'm gonna find out where Our Showers live. I'm just gonna give him a damn hug. That's what he needs, right? He needs a hug.
I have an answer for that question.
Yeah.
I hope the Packers never have a number 1 receiver for the next foreseeable future. Let's put it that way. I hope we continue to have so much talent in that wide receiver room that we can't really figure it out. Like, who is the bona fide number 1? Because it could be any one of these guys on any given Sunday. And that's something to be excited about, especially with a young team. Now, granted, as these guys become vets, someone may emerge a couple years from now as, a bona fide number 1. But I don't think a Matt LaFleur offense needs, that bona fide number 1 to be successful. I mean, we saw it last year. It was wide receiver by committee, and we got great seasons out of a lot of our guys. So I hope that trend continues.
I think if anything, Tim, imagine the fact that if a defense can't label the X or the number 1 or whatever you want to call it, how do you set your whole defense, bro? Like, how do you even start to set the whole fundamental plays that you're going to run? Because if you think Wicks or Reed or Watson or, name them.
Yeah, name them. Exactly. I'm with it. Yeah, every down we have a different X on the field, It's kind of hard to you can do all the scouting.
Well, you're walking into a bar, different X every single one.
And the way I was going to answer that question is, it's one thing to say who is wide receiver 1 and do we have a wide receiver 1, a number 1 wide receiver. Who is wide receiver 1 means who's your best wide receiver on the roster. Do we have a number 1 wide receiver means a number 1 wide receiver. Let me explain what that is. When you hear scouts, when you hear front office GMs talk about a true number 1 wide receiver, They're talking about someone who tilts the field. They're talking about someone who draws double coverage. They're talking about someone who is hands down the best wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the game, typically a top 10, maybe even a top 5 wide receiver. You think of Randy Moss in his prime. You think of Devontae Adams when he was with the Packers, right? You think of these type of wide receivers that they've always got to be accounted for where they are on the field. If that's the criteria we're talking about, the Packers don't have a number one wide receiver. Now, if you're asking me who their number one is in that top of the depth chart, I personally believe it's Dontavian Wicks, and I think we're going to see that this year. What's exciting about that is Christian Watson, right? Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, who led the league in receiving last year. If you look at it statistically, you'd say Jaden Reed's number one, right? I'm telling you, man, what we've seen from Tay last year, from Tay Wicks, do not be surprised if he comes out this year and just absolutely sets the world on fire, man. That's the guy that I think of. It's the closest thing we got to number one. And what I mean by that, Lab McConkey right now in the draft is just skyrocketing. And it's mainly because of his route running ability. And they're talking about how as long as he doesn't get rerouted at the line of scrimmage and not every team's going to play press, he can absolutely make your defensive backs look silly, which means you're going to have to roll coverage to his side if it translates to the NFL, obviously. Tay Wicks is the closest thing we have to that. Yeah, Christian Watson has the speed, but, if Christian Watson has speed and he's not as good a route runner, those DBs can cheat for that speed. With Tay Wicks, they got to try to stay in his hip pocket. And you've seen last year against Stephon Gilmore, against the Cowboys, all he needs is a half a yard of separation, just enough to get enough wiggle, get them on their heels. He's open. You got a catch window. It's game over. So I would say Tay Wicks is that guy for us. But again, he's not a true number one wide receiver. I think those are few and far between. And I think that's a term that gets thrown around so often. That's just.
What do you think about Ron's comment here, Clay, on that?
Let's see. Ron says, I believe with how many talented receivers are coming out of college, the number one is becoming less and less necessary. Someone talked about that today, Ron. Who was it? I was listening to DJ and Bucky Brooks talk about it. And they were talking about how the wide receivers are coming out of college so prepared right now that you've got teams that are loaded with wide receiver talent that you're kind of having that true number one phase out a bit. And it's exactly what Tim and Jacob were just talking about. Mm-hmm. If you're always put yourself in the opponent's position. If you had to come out and stop the pass, I mean, think about this, Emilio. You had to come out and stop a passing game, right? Which would you rather have to try to stop? Someone like a Randy Moss or a Devontae Adams, where you can just say, hey, you know what? Let's put our 2 and our 3 on him, double teaming, and then we'll put our 1 on their 2. That's the bullseye Bill Belichick approach. Mm-hmm. You can shut their whole game plan down. But if you got 2, 3, even 4 receivers, one of which might be a tight end that's a little hybrid, can flex out, good luck. You can't build a game plan around. Now it's just Matt LaFleur over there going, all right, what concepts do we want to throw on these jokers today?
Well, right? That's it. I mean, you've seen our offense stall previously, right? When we had that true number one, we've hit a wall once in a while. That's it's not a knock on Rodgers or anything or Tay or anything, but it's just kind of how that's set up. But again, they start the kid. I mean, you can play flag football when you're what? 4, 5, 6. I mean, you're playing wide receiver immediately. They got camps for all, obviously there's always quarterback camps, but they've taken this wide receiver camp, for real. You can go catch a ball anytime, any time of the year almost. You just need 10 yards. So that's why there's so much talent pouring in, and it helps the teams, right? Then you don't have to spend that one wide receiver money. Then you can start branching out and figure out, all right, I got to pay my tackle, I got to pay quarterback, and I got to pay an edge, and then figure out where else can we spend that money now that we don't have to, fork it out for the receivers.
Yeah, it's just wild that we've got the second cheapest wide receiver room.
Right.
It's just.
Do you think having all that talent is going to cause us that money problem down the road? Possibly, right? If they're that elite, maybe they want to walk, or they just love the team. They love how it works. Everyone understands their role. No one breaks 2,000 yards or anything like that. And they all get paid,
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Everything is about leverage when it comes to contracts. So the more that they spread the ball around, guess what the comps are going to suggest? The comps are going to suggest that they're not worthy of those, top 10, right, top 20, maybe even not even a top 32 wide receiver. I know it sounds kind of shady, but that's how the NFL works, man. It's going to be all about comps. And what I mean by that is Romeo Doubs, he's not going to have these overinflated numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not going to come out and have a 1,400-yard season because you're spreading the ball around. Therefore, when it comes time for him to get his contract, they're going to look up at the comps, go, okay, well, you comp out to $7 million per, right? So you're not going to be able to stay in that very, very bottom of cost for wide receiver room. But I think what will happen is the fact that you spread the ball around so much will allow you to kind of work in some bargains, some hometown discounts.
Right.
The other thing too is when you're going into that contract year, you can be a little less aggressive with the offer, knowing that, okay, if Romeo Doubs does walk, like for instance, let's just say, like, let's put it this way. You're going to have Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson up for contract in the same year, right? You can look up and go, okay, which one of those two guys do we want to sign? Let's get that deal done first. Then you can come in and lowball the other, right? I know it sounds mean, but that's the business of football. We talk about it all the time, right? You can come in and kind of lowball the other one once you get that deal done. But here's the other thing. If Dontavian Wicks does work out as good as we think he's going to, and Jaden Reed is going to continue to lead the league in receiving lead the team in receiving like he did last year, they could look up at those two guys and kind of approach them both like, hey, look, we'll give you $5 million per. No way I'm taking that. Okay, cool. Let them walk, replenish it, and now you got Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed stepping into that number 1 and number 2 role. Oh, by the way, you've got 2 great young tight ends coming into the fold too. So I think that's going to help the Packers. I think that's what helped the Packers at the running back position with Aaron Jones. Early on, I know people didn't like how he was underutilized, but I think that saved them money in the long run because he wasn't a feature back coming out there just absolutely. You guys remember he was averaging over 5 yards a carry, but he never cracked 1,000, right? It was like he was always somewhere around 800 or 900, if I remember correctly. That keeps the cost down. So I think there's a little bit of that game going on behind the scenes too. Do you think so, Jacob, or no?
Yeah, I do. And I just think that, like we've talked about how Good is so smart in the draft, where if he knows that there's a position of need, it's not the fact that we need it for this year, it's that we can have them under contract for 3 to 5 years or, somewhere in that range. And I think that's just been so smart. And I really do think that this year, the only reason that now, as I think about it sitting here, we haven't even talked about Bo Melton, guys. Like, we still have a guy like
Here's a guy.
Here's a guy who, and all these guys are 2 or 3 years out. So to your point, Clay, I could see them actually maybe taking a poke if one of these wide receivers that are just too good to pass up on, Good looks at it like, hey, this is the reason why I can decide between Christian and Doubs when it comes to that point. Or maybe it's the reason that I can decide between this and that player at that point. And I do think that, we talked about it yesterday. I think Goot is just a cyborg. He's a Terminator. He has no emotion. He has just been programmed to, I'm going to save the team money and I'm going to draft to replace and I'm going to give them as much of an opportunity every year. He is absolutely soulless and I kind of like it. At the same time, I kind of don't. But, I think you have to trust the process because here we are every year saying, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And then we've been in the game, guys. We've been in the show for 30 plus years. So we need to take a step back.
It's a great point, man. And when you mentioned Bo Melton, I pulled his contract up. This year, cap hits $915,000. He had the highest PFF grade amongst all Packers receivers. Granted, there was, far fewer snaps, but I think at the end of the season, LaFleur's starting to see, oh, this dude's a real deal. What's cool is 2025, he's an exclusive rights free agent. So he's still got exclusive rights to him. He'll about a 95% chance he'll be on the Packers roster in 2025 too. So that's another thing. What we always talk about, just like the market, anything business wise, when you have an abundance of something, right? A high supply of something, it drives the value down, right? That's the way Goody's going to look at this whole receiver room. He is. So
can I make a really cheesy joke? I just thought of it.
Yeah, man.
Terminator Goody, he won't be back. He'll
Oh, God. Let's see here. Donald Krieger in the chat said, I don't remember the team last season, but the coach mentioned they have to play the Packers different when Watson's on the field. Absolutely. And I think as it sit going into last season and the way Watson finished his rookie year, on that hot streak before he hurt the hammy, you started seeing that. Teams were having to tilt the field, wasn't they, Tim? Like that was the closest thing to a true one that we'd seen in a while because he could take the top off of the defense. He's not going to wow you with his route running. Now, you've seen against Kansas City last year when he was healthy, the jump ball I mean, that dude showed the ball skills of going up and getting those jump balls, and him actually utilizing that height that obviously the Packers, drafted him so high for there in the second round. But
that was always the biggest knock on Scoot was the contested catch. Anything in traffic up in, high pointing it, that those tend to be drops. But he clearly worked his way through that and made some monster grabs for us for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's exciting, guys. I mean, the floor of this receiver room is, you're talking Bo Melton, Malik Heath, Grant DeBose. That's your floor. And then whoever we might sneak in the draft here. I mean, this is going to be exciting football for the foreseeable future right now.
Yeah.
He can catch, right? So.
R. Showers says, Clayton, do you worry about the quality of a program when you slot these guys? Like my example of taking a USC safety who played on a horrid defense. I'm curious how you weigh that. I don't weigh it at all, R. Showers. I'm simply looking at the tape, looking at the grades. You can only control the controllables, right? If somebody's on a bad defense and they give up a ton of points, I never look at and go, man, that defense is horrible. I ain't taking away off that defense. You look at the individual performances. What were their assignments? What were their specific responsibilities? That's all you can grade on people, right? I'll tell you one that surprised me hearing Greg Cosell talk about him. We haven't talked about him much on the safety side. Was our boy Cole Bishop, safety Cole Bishop, right? Greg Cosell. It sounded like Greg Cosell might have him as his best safety in the draft. I was like, whoa, all right. This is what happened with Dontavian Wicks last year. Now, he didn't say he was the best receiver, but he was talking about how much he liked him, right? This kid gets it. This kid gets it, what he kept saying. And you've seen what happened. So I'm immediately taking a step back and all right, let me dig into Cole Bishop a little bit and see what we got there. See if you can pull anything up on him, Emilio. I'd like to know what Cole Bishop's PFF looks like because, like I said,
I know that he tested out real well. His RAS is right up there with where Goody would like that. And I think I want to say you can cut me off here, Emilio, but I thought his PFF grades were a little unimpressive. But
that's exact. I mean, nail on the head, Jacob. 2021, 62.8. 2022, 75.5. 2023, 65.6. He played a bunch of snaps. He kind of played all over. Honestly, I mean, last year, 247 deep, 180 in the box, 97 at slot, 25 in corner, but he's played kind of slot before that. The issue, I mean, his coverage grade 60.9, run defense 67.5.
Gotcha. I've got him in the 157 spot before my final testing here, and it looks like after it, he'll probably jump to about 153 most likely. So just something, again, man, keep an eye on him because when Greg Cosell says this stuff, I'm telling you, it's very rare that I look up and go, boy, he whiffed on that one. He's been watching football, and I say watching football, he's been specifically watching football since the 70s, where he's actually trying to diagnose what's going on. He's like the NFL Films king. He's always at NFL Films. Anytime a coach takes a year off, typically what they'll do is the next football season, they'll spend a lot of time at NFL Films headquarters because you've got the vault there with every bit of football film, and he'll actually get to hang out in there. He hung out with Steve Spagnuolo when Steve Spagnuolo got fired from, I think it was the Rams, I believe it was. He hung out with him for a couple of years, and now you see he's arguably the best defensive coordinator in the game there in Kansas City. So those are the type of guys he takes time to watch film with. So Jake Shavink said Bishop is now the 7th safety I've seen labeled the top safety in the draft. Kind of show how close several of the top are in many eyes. And Jake, that's exactly what DJ said. You guys remember this the other night, Tim?
Yeah.
We pulled up DJ's tweet where DJ actually said you got a cluster of safeties. Safeties and running backs are clustered there. And they had a really cool conversation, DJ and Bucky Brooks did, where they said, he asked Bucky, what's your kind of your tiebreaker, right? What's your tiebreaker when it comes to specific positions and things like that? They talked about running back and busting that bundle, what they call bundle busters. And he said he likes explosives at the running back position. Look at all the explosive plays, the specifics of those. And then I think DJ said he likes versatility amongst all positions. So that's kind of their bundle busters. So there you go. Nostalgic in the chat says Christian Watson. Dad said on Ross Uglum podcast that he has Bishop as his number 1. Really? That's interesting there. So someone else that's kind of talking about it. So safety is going to be interesting, man. It's going to be real interesting on draft night. Probably going to be in the second round, I would imagine. Those guys are going to start flying off the board. So we'll see how it shakes out. I was going to get into 2022. Actually, let's hit on it real briefly here, and then we'll wrap this thing up. I know we got Carly in here now. Let's see. I'll just jump right to the draft class from 2022. So what did we just talk about, guys? We talked about in 2023, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 2 undrafteds, right? They were top 30 visits. In 2022, you had a first-round pick, and Devontae Wyatt was a top 30 visit. Second-round pick, which is the 34th pick, right there on the cusp of being another first-round pick, and Christian Watson was a top 30 visit. In round 4, Romeo Dobbs, top 30 visit. Round 7, Tariq Carpenter, top 30 visit. Round 7, Rasheed Walker, top 30 visit. Round 7, Samori Toure, top 30 visit. And just ignore the undrafted. That just carried over from the other one. So pretty interesting there that there was actually a first round, a second round, a fourth round. But again, you're seeing 3 7th rounders being the top 30 there. So pretty interesting. Hopefully that answered the question of the listeners that were asking specifically about the top 30 visits. Carly, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Don't forget, I got Bobby here tonight.
What's up,
very
Bobby?
special guest. Yeah, Bobby's hanging out. No, it's doing good. How are you guys doing?
No, we're good. We just in here, we've been hanging out all night, talking a little ball, and we finally got to uncover Emilio's race car there. So,
Money.
Did you make that, Carly? Did you make that?
That one I did not. No, I cannot claim that.
He's got too much time on his hands. He needs to pick up a couple more yards.
Carly would have done a better Photoshop than that. Look how bad that Photoshop is. The back there.
I love the graffiti on the wall. Like that's
what I said. Yeah. Yeah, looks like a young Emilio there.
I like the mini race car in the window. That's. I mean, that's
I didn't even see that. And is that an alcohol bottle too? Because that would be
thought that was a little whiskey back there.
Tequila. The tequila, wouldn't it, Emilio?
Got the worm in it. Yeah.
We just got to put this sound effect in the back.
That'd be perfect. Oh man. All right. Well, let's get ready to wrap it up. Let's go around the horn here once. Jacob, is there anything else you wanted to hit on, man?
Honestly, I can't remember. I'm tired, man. But we're almost about to actually hit an actual hour mark, so I don't want to talk too much anymore. I'll sign off right now. It'll be good.
All right, there you go. Appreciate that, man. Really Tim, what about you, buddy? You got anything else?
You said me or Tim?
Oh, no.
I didn't hear him. He cut out.
Yeah, Tim.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, just Omar Brown is interesting. You talk about safety. If we're going to get anyone, middle to late-ish rounds at safety, it's probably going to be a guy like Omar Brown. So very cool that he was one of our visits today. So I'll leave with that.
Yeah, it kind of fits what we talked about tonight, right? When you look at the top 30s, you can see him maybe being in that 4th to 5th range, right? Possibly.
Don't put Eric's comment up on the screen. Just read it.
All right.
We already know that.
Emilio, you got anything else, buddy?
I guess the Packers promoted Brian Engel to Vice President of Player Health and Performance and Nate Weir to Director of Sports Medicine, Head Athletic Trainer.
Got it. People hear that type of stuff. They hear, weight room coordinators and, the whatever they call them, the I can't remember the strength and conditioning coaches, and they think, oh, it's just a formality, whatever. Hearing Mark Tauser and Brian Balaga talk about that, I think it was on either today's show or yesterday's show on Wildy and Tauser. It might have been the Homer Hour. They were like, they set the tone. They're the guys who set the tone for the culture in the entire building. And I just kind of stopped for a minute. I was like, let me listen to these guys for a second. And they were just talking about how they challenge them. And it's just a constant, they're the ones who drive the competition within the building. That really kind of caught me off guard. I've been watching football for a long time, and I never looked at it that way. Because, again, people most of the time just sweep everything under the rug. What is your problem, Emilio? What are you giggling about over there?
Nothing. I was just laughing at Chad Inc., laughing at Jacob, laughing. So we're off
the rails. Carly, you got anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Well, yeah, I have a special request from the chat here. Clayton, what do you think about, when Favre went to Rodgers and the transition and how that was handled between the GM and the coach, and then how from Rodgers to Love, with the draft, and how do you just see that working out through the next draft?
I can't tell if they're being serious, Tim. What the hell's going on in here right now?
I'm not
The
even
chat
looking at
is
the chat.
requesting a big topic so that you have to go way over because they want more of your genius,
Oh, I
Clayton.
see. Yeah, I see what's going on right now.
Sorry.
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
You see how me and Tim are the only two married guys on this pod. And we're over here. We don't think it's funny. We're going to get in trouble if we go over. But yeah, so I'm taking that's not a serious question, but Carly, that was really good improv on your part there. I got to admit.
I tried so hard. I was like, holy crap, what can I come up with?
You did well.
Carly's getting funnier and funnier every time. I'm just telling you.
Oh, yeah.
She's starting to. She's finding her ground. I'm telling you.
That's right.
I have great role models, Jacob.
Yeah, not from these knuckleheads. I promise you. Goodness gracious. So again, as we wrap up, just give a quick special shout out to the 3 new Patreon members. Like I said, Rich Beck, Maki on Mute, and Jonathan Koch. Appreciate y'all jumping on board there. We absolutely, like I said, man, it's something it's humbling that people want to be a part of kind of what we're creating, and the chat is the lifeblood, man. The chat on the live show, the chat in the Patreon group, that's the lifeblood of the show. I just love what we've created here as a group. It's awesome. Eric Sutherland says, LOL, I love this show. I bet you do, Eric.
Nice. We found an Eric Sutherland comment we could put on the.
I mean, that's the reason.
That's like a 2 for 2. He had one last night, didn't he?
Yeah.
There we go.
Not a roll. I think he's softening up a bit. I do. So.
Oh, we're going to give him some.
Hey, Prince is right. We are delightful. Okay?
Exactly. Doug Pointer says 3.28 thousand members and growing.
Wow.
It sounded like the old Flintstone vitamins, didn't it? What was it, 300? What was that? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Y'all remember the Flintstone vitamin commercials?
Oh, dude, those are so good.
The chalky ones or the gummy ones?
Dude, those they only
when we were kids, they only had the chalky ones.
Only had chalky.
You youngsters,
You soft kids
gummies.
can't chew.
Yeah.
You can't chew real vitamins. You
unbelievable, man. In here talking about gummies. I mean, my God, you know what that's about.
Stay off the damn
I'm just saying. So. All right, we're out of here, guys. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. We had a big crowd in here too, man. We had a ton of people. For those of you on X, feel free to click on my profile there on X. You'll see a YouTube link that'll send you to the YouTube channel. A little bit easier to communicate in the chat on that. So feel free to
Rumble.
Join over there. Yeah, Rumble as well. Rumble's growing like crazy. Really cool interface over there as well. So whatever your preference is, we're going to try to bring all the different angles. I can't figure out Facebook. We got a Facebook group. Can't get it posted on there. They said it was being marked as spam. So I guess when you go live, they don't like you to go live often. I don't know. That's Mark Zuckerberg for you. But maybe Carly can help us out with that. She seems to have a little bit better grab on Facebook. I am not technologically sound when it comes to this stuff for sure. So, all right, Emilio, what did you want to say? You're grinning like a possum in a dumpster. Let's hear it, bud.
Nothing, man. I can't wait for the Milwaukee ad to come through. Let's get that process. I can't wait. But yeah.
Are you wearing a tie-dye shirt, dude?
Yes, dude. What's the
Not
problem?
just a tie-dye shirt.
Took him an hour to ask that.
Hold on. Not just a tie-dye shirt. Emilio, stand up. Show him, big dog. Let's go. Show him.
Put him on the highlight. Put him on the highlight. Oh, my God. Dude.
Gentlemen, what brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
That was a good
Wait, is
time.
that Jacob's cat? Is that Jacob's cat? Did he send you a picture of his cat so you could get it tied up?
Jacob
No, that's
said no
Emilio's
discrimination here. Right.
Well, it's a Walmart special, man. They got the best shirts. I'm not even kidding. You had no idea how excited I was when I went into the Green Bay Walmart and it was just littered with Packers stuff. I ran through just grabbing anything I could. I think I got a mug, a shirt. Tim's like, dude, that's nothing. I'm like, yeah, I've never seen a Walmart with Packers things in it.
Up here, even the Rosses.
Oh, they have tools there too. That's what I'm saying.
Yup.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, we're out, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow night for PTA. Well, tomorrow's Friday, right? No, tomorrow's Thursday.
No, it's Thursday. Bro.
What day
We'll
is
be
it?
back tomorrow night. I don't know, man. I have to ask Mandy every morning. What am I doing today? So
You're mowing yards, Clayton. That's what you're doing.
tell you what, but we threw some down today. Let me tell you, man. I'm staying with it because I want to try to stay in shape as I approach 42 years of age here. And every day, Amelia, I'm not going to lie, man, we get to about the 16th yard, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? I should just get fat. That's what
You can come throw mulch with me. I threw 10 yards today.
I don't want to hear it. I don't need to hear your war stories, Amelia. You hear me? It's fake
For
news.
those of you listening on the pod,
All right. I can't wait to have you up here for the draft, though, Amelia. We're going to have a blast, dude.
Oh, I can't. I'm
Jacob and
excited.
Tim, they're going to have to carry the whole
I
show.
was gonna say, I feel
We're
like
going to be off the rails so quick.
streams
dude.
We're gonna get Can Jam indoors. Mandy's gonna hear us just diving. We're gonna be laying out for these because we're gonna need to kill some time in between, I would think. So
Absolutely, man. We got the deck right here. We'll open up the French doors. We'll be out there hanging out with a fire. You guys will see a fire flickering in the background. The YouTube channel will get completely canceled. That's what's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. You're going to see Emilio catch on fire or something. It'll happen. So, all right, we're out. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack, go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.